Hi there, today I'm going to demo some watercolor techniques for you guys, but first I wanted to show you the setup. So to begin the paint, on your list of supplies, you'll see something called half pan colors, and that's what these are. They're watercolors that are in a hard state that have been dried and you add water. And a lot of these sets are great because they come with a tiny palette that you can use. These will work beautifully. This particular brand is Winsor Newton. Cotman also makes one. I prefer tube watercolors. They go a long way. And when you're using them, this is my palette. It's kind of a mess, but it works. So I like this one because it folds up. It has this area where you can add your colors, and then these flat wells over here where you can mix colors. And then another method that would totally work is just one of these super inexpensive circular palettes. I think this one was 98 cents, which is a great deal. When you're using tube watercolors, a little goes a long way. And the super cool thing about tube watercolors is you can add color and then let it dry, and then you don't have to get rid of it. So when you're working with acrylic paints, once they dry, they're done. And the cool thing about watercolors is once they dry, you can easily reactivate them with water. So again, a little goes a long way. So when you invest in the tubes, you're gonna have them a long time. I like to keep my tube watercolors in a glass jar just because it provides an extra barrier against them drying out. And again, even if they dry out, you can crack open the tube and you essentially have these hard little bits of color that you reactivate with water. So when you guys are using tube watercolor, so say I want to add a little of this cad red, you only need a tiny little bit. And when you're using them to paint, you need to be a little more sparing in how much you grab, because you could easily use straight watercolor out of the tube and put it on, but it's so concentrated, it's not going to behave the way it should. So when you first use the colors from the tube while the pigment is still wet, you just need to be a little more sparing. But you can do that and mix in the well or mix in the one next door, stuff like that. Blue tape, again, as you will see in a little bit when I begin to demo some of the processes, it's nice to tape off your edges. It just gives it a nice clean edge so they don't bleed. I like to use 2 jars of water, reason being, as you begin to work, because water is your activator, I like to keep 1 jar for my light colors, the yellows and oranges, and then the other jar when I rinse my brush after using blues and greens and stuff like that. And then this is my brush holder. Again, super cool because it folds up like this and closes. And then I love the way it opens and stands. You can see you don't need this many brushes. This is kind of a collection over years. For this class, you would probably be okay, I'd say, with bare minimum, maybe something like this, a flat. So when you're doing a wash, trying to do a wash with a small brush like this, it's possible. It's just kind of frustrating because the strokes have to be so teeny. Doing a wash with something at least this size, this is about a 1/2 inch, and then it's going to give you better coverage as you're painting. And then I like this little teeny guy here when you want to get in and do fine detail. So for this class for watercolor, you'd probably be okay with just about this many. Totally up to you. Another fun effect that you can get with watercolor is playing with other substances like this sponge to get some natural patterning happening, which I will show you in a minute. And then also salt. So you can use, this is kosher flake salt, and I will demo in a minute what happens when you use salt and watercolor together. And then you're also, anytime you're using watercolor, you're gonna wanna have a paper towel handy. to quickly dab up if you smear color somewhere you don't want it, or a spill. I like working with a paper towel handy just in case. So those are the supplies, and so now I'm going to demo some of the techniques.